Well, good evening, everyone. I'm really excited about this evening. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tonight is about celebrating a critical component of the trail, really our most valuable asset outside of the trail itself, and that is you. The Superior Hiking Trail Association is truly a volunteer-powered nonprofit. And while we have a stellar staff, it is the individuals who volunteer for the association who cumulatively make the greatest impact. So welcome everyone, and on behalf of the Superior Hiking Trail Association, I'd like to welcome you to your 2021 volunteer celebration. And if I haven't met you yet, my name is Lisa Lokla and I am SHTA's director. While the calendar has rolled over to 2022, we are very much wanting to take a pause and reflect on the awesome accomplishments of our volunteer efforts this past trail season. Volunteerism is hard work, not hard work, well, sometimes hard work, but heart work. You give your time and your talents and services because you deeply care about the trail and the trail community. And we want to thank you for protecting and maintaining this spectacular recreational asset that provides free public access to some of the most pristine outdoor experiences in Minnesota. And might I add, one of the last remaining free outdoor experiences in the state. We all know better than you all know better than anyone that the trail is a fairly delicate asset to maintain. It is exposed to the elements, moved by Mother Nature and impacted by friends and foe alike. But every year as we embark on our seasonal tasks, we approach it with optimism and enthusiasm. And somehow we managed to get to the work done, and we end up actually, in the last couple of years, especially moving the needle on sustainability for the trail. Managing the SHT has always been, and it continues to be, an ambitious undertaking, but it's also been an amazing adventure. In 36 years, we've built the premier footpath in Minnesota and one of the most recognized long distance hiking trails in the country. We also created a really robust trail community, which you're part of. And whether it be on trail or at a board meeting, lifelong friendships have been forged through the shared commitment to the idea of the Superior Hiking Trail. So from myself, our staff, and the board of directors, thank you for being a friend, a volunteer, and an advocate, and bringing so much energy and so much generosity to the trail. Most of all, thanks for creating a volunteer community that is really based on supporting one another and uplifting one another in your work, creating a welcoming environment for new and returning volunteers, and making sure that we have a lot of lighthearted fun thrown into each and every project. The trail is a special place for everyone, and I'm so glad that you're here. And now I'm going to turn it over to an old familiar face coming out of retirement for us tonight only. Joe Swanson is joining us, our former trail development director, to provide a little MC and reflect on her last year in her role with the Superior Hiking Trail, the 2021 season.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. Although I've stepped away from my role at SHTA, my final year was just filled with amazing moments with volunteers, as was every year that I had at SHTA. And I'm just so enriched to have been able to meet all of you and work alongside you. And I'm just so happy that I can be here this evening to say thank you once again. And tonight, along with Trail Operations Director Tamer Ibrahim, we will celebrate some of the many accomplishments of 2021. And we are very excited to introduce to you our new volunteer and education coordinator, and to officially pass the volunteer coordinator hat to her. So welcome, Barbara Budd.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. That's great. I'm excited to be wearing this hard hat. Well, hello, everyone. In my short time at SHTA, I've already discovered what an amazing group of folks you are, and I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you. So I thought you'd like to know just a little about me. I grew up about an hour south of Duluth, and I remember coming to the North Shore as a child and have some very happy memories up here. And then a couple of decades ago, I ended up in Washington State working for the Forest Service. After several years working on trails and in the wilderness, I left the Forest Service to become a trail crew lead for Washington Trails Association. And there I led thousands of volunteers over the next 10 years, maintaining trails all over the state of Washington. I ended my time with WTA as their Northwest Regional Coordinator. And then now, I'm super happy to be back in Minnesota doing what I love. And what I love is working with volunteers who care about trails. And so I'm looking forward to offering up the experiences I bring with me, as well as learning from you and supporting you in your very important role in the life of the trail. Now, volunteers are heart and soul of the SHT. That's pretty obvious. The trail wouldn't exist without you. And even if it did, the experience of hiking it would be much more difficult. What you do keeps folks connected to nature and to each other. And now, because I'm new and still learning about the incredible work you all do, I'm going to hand this back to Joe and Tamer, who will recap last year's accomplishments. You'll hear more from me when we get to what's coming up soon. Spoiler alert, we have some new opportunities this year.
But tonight we want to focus on the year we just had, 2021. "2021 was a pretty amazing year of incredible accomplishments, but there were some very real challenges. If you'll remember, not only were we still impacted by COVID-19 concerns, but we also had to contend with an extremely unique fire season, unlike any that we'd experienced before. And it just blanketed the North Shore in smoke, making it impossible to even get on the trail for a chunk of the summer. But despite all of that, volunteers still managed to put in over 6,400 hours, which is incredible. This year, we also launched, or last year, we also launched a new successful model for trail clearing. We were able to offer a bunch of different trainings, and we were able to complete big and little projects. It was a lot to juggle, and it was only possible because of you. So let's talk a little bit more about some of those cool things that we were able to do. Last year, one of our highlights was a series of virtual and in-person trainings with Tim Malzahn, developing your trail eyes and people on, water off. 53 people were able to attend the virtual trainings, and there was a smaller in-person component. The virtual trainings are still available online on the SHTA YouTube channel. So if you missed out, you didn't really miss out. You can go and check those out. Tim is fantastic to work with, and we hope to see a lot more of him in the future. Blazing, yay. Last year, our wonderful colleague, Jody Nanamacher, continued to work with volunteers to ensure that each section of the SHT has had recent blazing attention. Over 100 volunteer hours were put into reblazing almost 39 miles. And this is work that has such a tremendous impact on the trail experience, especially in confusing areas or for people who aren't as familiar with the trail, who are visiting for one of the first times, to have that reassurance that no, they're not lost. Volunteers often get their hands muddy, but in this case, we want to extend our gratitude to those who have had their hands turn blue from working with the paint. We also want to give major kudos to our section and campsite adopters who put in over 1,000 hours to maintain their sections and campsites. And that includes 2 awesome trail stewardship teams. Adopters have made up the heart of the volunteer program for as long as there has been a Superior hiking trail. They are the reason that you don't get smacked in the face, at least hopefully not very often, as you're hiking or running. And their reports are what allow SHTA to triage issues that we see, that we hear about. We know where the bad infrastructure is. We know the order in which latrines need to be redug, all because of the section and campsite adopters. The consistent and reliable impact that they have is awe-inspiring. So we're so grateful for those 1,000 hours from adopters, campsite adopters, section adopters, trail stewardship teams. Thank you for that work. And I'm gonna turn it over to Tamara to talk about spring trail clearing.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us tonight. So as Joe mentioned earlier, 2021 saw a new model of trail clearing that we decided to give a try. It involved our sawyers signing up for different sections and then organizing their own teams of swampers and helpers to go out and clear trail. And it worked pretty well. And with the help of volunteers, we were able to clear over 100 miles of the SHT. And that's really amazing. And we still hope to return to our previous model of a large weekend event trail clearing, but for now, with the pandemic and group size restrictions, it seems like this is a pretty good way to move forward and still get a lot of work done and allow sawyers to use their skills. And so we plan to implement this again this season. And then moving on to some of project work that we did last year. We tackled with a major issue on the Split Rock River Loop with the help of Tim Malzahn, who we've mentioned already, who did the virtual trainings. And he coordinated a team of contractors, volunteers, and SHTA staff to replace a failing bridge along the loop over a small drainage. The current bridge was a little too short and the abutments were undercut, and we were able to pull it out and move it to another spot nearby where it could be used. And we installed a longer bridge that was higher up the stream. This allowed us to place the abutments further away from the fragile stream edge and get the trail out of the eroded gully. And it was a great success. And I think hikers will enjoy this new structure for many years to come. And it was one of the things that was really exciting about this project was that it was really a collaboration, took a lot of effort from many different groups of people to pull it off. And so we worked with contractors, the Conservation Corps of Minnesota, Split Rock River State Park, and SHTA staff and volunteers. And all in all, we had, I think, close to 1,500 hours on this project. So working with another large partner that we have, the United States Forest Service, we replaced an old bridge with a new 50-foot FRP bridge. And FRP stands for fiber reinforced polymer, or fiberglass for short. And it's got a lot of advantages over lumber, mainly the main advantage being that it's never going to rot. Now, we've installed one of these bridges previously near the southern terminus, but this was the first one that's ever been put in the Superior National Forest, to my knowledge. And nobody on this project had helped out with the first one, so there was a bit of a learning curve. But we had lots of volunteer effort on this one, and in the end, it turned out really great. And the SHTA will be installing another one in August of 2022. So stay tuned. This sounds like fun. Now, we had kind of an interesting project that was finally completed in, I believe, November of 2021. It was late fall anyway, and we had 3 poles fabricated, and they were brought out into the woods to the campsites where we were going to have them installed in the winter of 2020. And you know, it's taken us a little while to coordinate everything to get them installed, but we got one installed the year before, and then we managed to kind of pull together a small crew and get the other logistics figured out, and get the other 2 put up on Lake Agnes, the 2 campsites out there. And one of the things that really made this project possible, besides the stellar help of all the volunteers, is that we were able to get access through private property to canoe the concrete across the lake. So otherwise it would have had to been carried a mile, which would have been a little difficult. And one of the volunteers who helped out with this project has also redesigned and fabricated some new lifting poles, which you can't really see in this picture, but the poles, the bare poles, have this steel pole that's attached, and they're really heavy. So he came up with these wooden ones that we hope will work better. All right. So there's a lot that's always going on in Duluth, and a lot of volunteers get mobilized, working on all kinds of different projects. Larry Sampson, who is our seasonal contractor in that area and has been for quite some time, works very closely with a lot of volunteers and does his own recruitment. So there were a lot of volunteer opportunities, both large and small. And some of the bigger projects include Knowlton Creek, where there's been kind of an ongoing reroute, bypassing a very steep climb and some pretty old steps. So at the beginning of that, we installed some new steps and also 10 feet of puncheon over some cedar roots. And also on the other side of near the creek, there was a short reroute getting the Superior Hiking Trail off the snowmobile trail. Sergeant Creek, which is the location of one of our famous bridges, we constructed a new stepstone crossing of the creek, which is downstream a little ways from the current crossing. And you can see that pictured in the upper right there. And so we had to place the stones and do a short reroute on each side. And then later in the winter, we actually removed the old bridge. So the bridge is no longer there, and this is the new way across the creek. In Brewer Park, a short reroute and about 40 feet of puncheon was constructed. Ely's Peak Loop saw some new stone steps, and there was a new 24-foot bridge on a reroute near Fox Farm Pond. And last, but certainly not least, volunteers do a lot of weed whipping, all the weed whipping within the city of Duluth, about 24 miles.
And now I get to say some special thank yous. We want to give a special shout out to our all volunteer board. The board is made up of 15 talented professionals who attend board meetings and give of themselves in committee work. In addition, many of them also volunteer on the trail. We rely on them to uphold the mission and vision of the organization. They've been invaluable support to the staff as we've gone through unprecedented times, whether that be windstorm, pandemic, or drought. You see, we have a collage here of these folks tonight, and that's because they've conducted their board business via Zoom for 2 years, exhibiting their commitment to the trail, even through substantial challenges.
And we also want to highlight the amazing work of a volunteer named Jed Overman, who is a longtime section adopter who just recently stepped away from the role. But he had just put in 15 years of adopting his section of trail. And it's not an easy section either. Jed adopted from Caribou Trail to Cascade River State Park, which may be the longest section that we have without a drivable road cutting through. It's long and rugged. It's got lots of rocks and roots and a ton of elevation change. So a very big job for him. I was really fortunate one autumn to be camping at Spruce Creek campsite, and on my hike out that morning, I ran into a guy with a couple of friends and some tools, and I thought, oh my gosh, I get to meet Jed in real life. So I got to thank him. He's the guy in the middle in that picture. And we're so honored for all of the work that he has put in. These 15 years have made a big difference on that section of trail. It's an absolutely gorgeous area. And next time you hike through there, say a little thanks to Jed for his 15 years. We're just so grateful for the reliable work that has kept that stretch of trail in great shape.
All right. Well, another person that we would like to recognize and give special thanks to is a volunteer named Jim Shinners. And Jim is a longtime SHT volunteer who's performed many different roles over the years. He's a certified sawyer and a campsite and section adopter in the remote, and he maintains a section and campsite in the remote northern sections of Cook County. And in 2021, he also put in many hours assisting with the Kimball Creek Bridge project, both the abutments and the bridge construction. And he's always been generous with his time, expertise, and has graciously lent the use of his own specialized tools and equipment. So he's a pleasure to work with, and thanks so much, Jim.
And we also want to announce our 2021 Volunteer of the Year. For people lucky enough to have worked with this volunteer, this picture is a small hint as to her identity.
Thank you, Steph. Steph Hoff is our 2021 Volunteer of the Year. And Steph has been involved with the SHT for many years, and she's been a volunteer crew leader since 2018. And she's a real joy to work with. And she really shines at organizing and planning all the many different aspects of a project. She has a true passion for trail work and loves to teach others how to swing a tool. She's an inspiration to everyone that she works with. So thank you so much, Steph, for all your hard work and dedication.
And Steph, you'll be getting your award in the mail soon. And now I get the pleasure of giving something away. So the, whoops, there we go. The person, it's time for the wheel of prizes. The winner will receive a Blaze Orange SHT logo knit hat, an SHT pack pin, and a gray circle hoodie t-shirt in their size. So we'll try this again. My technical difficulties. We'll try it here. We'll try this way. Here we go, folks. Thanks for your patience. And here we are. And Matt Hultman wins our, oh wait, I was Bonnie Riley. I was too quick. Good job, Bonnie. We will be in touch and get your shirt size. All right. So, back to you, Joe.
All right, we need to get the full scale picture. Can you do the presentation view? Well, while we troubleshoot and try to, there we go. Woohoo! Good work, Barbara. Thank you. We just want to take a moment to talk about some of the contractor-led projects that have happened in 2021, because although the trail absolutely exists because of volunteers, when you volunteer and you report your hours to SHTA, you're actually helping the trail twice, because for many or most of the grants that SHTA gets, we are using your volunteer hours to match those grants. So those grants help SHTA to hire contractors, to tackle challenging projects, and to renew additional sections of trail. So thank you for your volunteer hours, which help to make the following projects a reality.
So last year, we hired a contractor to build some structures that we hauled in the lumber for a few winters ago. So it's a really good thing to get done because it had been sitting out in the woods for a little while. And we installed new structures in 3 different locations along the Poplar River, near the Poplar River. Location 1 had 98 feet of puncheon. Location 2 had an 18-foot bridge attached to 48 feet of puncheon, and about 30 feet of tread repair. And the final location was 80 feet of elevated boardwalk using bog pan footings, which there's a picture of that on the upper right. And a volunteer crew led with the Student Conservation Association helped do some of the finish work on this project, and also repaired an additional 150 feet of tread in that area. So that brings the total for this project to about 244 feet of renewed infrastructure and about 180 feet of tread repair. So we also had a contractor do some work at near Castle Danger. He installed about 330 feet of puncheon in between the trailhead and where the trail crosses the road again, in kind of a perennially wet, almost always wet area, although last summer it did actually dry out thanks to the drought. And then going down to Crow Creek, he built about 22 C-steps on the eroding hillside. And that spot was really bad. There was a bunch of rebar sticking out and all kinds of, and it was really kind of falling apart. And so this is a great example of how structures can both make travel easier and safer for users and also kind of protect the environment at the same time. And then additionally, the contractor also built about 100 feet of puncheon at Sawmill Creek, which you may remember we had a big project, boardwalk and puncheon in 2020. And there was one little gap we decided not to include with that project. And after going out there in the spring, it was pretty obvious that we should have just covered the whole thing. So we got somebody to fill that last section in. And so that makes really over, I believe, over 700 feet of puncheon leading up to the Sawmill Pond boardwalk, and kind of taking you through the sensitive wetland adjacent to the pond. So
and now I have a quick preview of some of our 2022 opportunities. As always, we're going to have a bunch of really cool projects coming up this year. There's the Spruce Creek Bridge replacement, which is the most remote bridge site on the entire trail. And of course, at long last, completing the Bean and Bear reroute, and perhaps some stair building at White Sky Rock. You can get all of the details for that at our March 15th season preview webinar. So watch for your invitation coming out this week. And then there will be also a few openings in our campsite and section adopter programs. So stay tuned for that. Now, if you know folks who feel like those projects might be too much to take on, but who want a taste of what it's like to come out and have a great time working on the SHT, please have them watch our website in the coming months for opportunities to do a half-day introduction to trail work event, specially designed for folks who have never worked on the trail before. And if you have any questions about that, please let me know. Now, do you love talking with people? The SHTA needs people to do outreach and education. Some examples include sharing your knowledge of the trail with shoppers in the SHTA store, tabling at events, giving out information at trailheads, and even hiking along the trail to gather statistics on use. Watch the website and Trail Mix again over the next few months for those opportunities. And in addition, we're looking for a few good office volunteers. So if you know, if you or someone you know is willing to help with some administrative tasks, let me know, please. And finally, there's a new and exciting piece of information. We're working with a new way for volunteers to interact with our website. This is going to be new and a way easier way to log your hours and sign up for events. And finally, I want to say thank you to those who helped make this program and all the work we do at the SHTA possible. REI, the Lloyd K. Johnson Foundation, Minnesota Power, and the NOAA Office for Coastal Management. But most of all, SHT members, donors, and volunteers like you. This ends this evening's presentation. If you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat, and we'll hang around for a few minutes to answer them, or you can reach out to volunteer@superiorhiking.org. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. Have a great evening, and we will see you on the trail again soon. Thanks, everybody. Looks like, let's see here. Okay. Doesn't look like we have any questions, so thanks, folks. Bonnie, if you can stay on, that'd be great. If you can stay on for just a moment.